Hey everyone, welcome to the morning after. So yeah, it's the morning after election night, 2020. What a wild ride 2020 has been. And it's interesting, I thought to myself that no matter what happens Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, at least half of the country is going to be upset, right? And I think I was a little bit off in my in my estimate, because I think pretty much the entire country is upset with the uncertainty, with the polarization, with the divisiveness, with everything that's going on within our present political sphere and our present political climate. But we're Americans. We get through these things. We as Americans rise to the challenge that we face. And in order to rise to this challenge, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to figure out a way to move away from the binary, two-dimensional, us versus them setup we got here, where in order to have a winner, you have to have a loser. And instead transition to a way of doing things where everybody can win. We need to look for ways to bring everybody into the equation. And my guest today is the CEO of Fifth Element Group, Jim Van Erden. And the main purpose of Fifth Element Group is to create what we call Omni Wins. Everybody, please help me welcome Jim Van Erden, CEO of Fifth Element Group. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Ron. Great to see you today.
Like I said in the intro, we've got a pretty big challenge in front of us as a nation, which has a huge effect on the rest of the world. Do you see any way we can get an omni win out of this present situation in both a short-term and a long-term perspective?
To me, in this moment that we're in, when there's such polarization, it's really vital to know people who think differently than we think, and not just to know them, to be in a relationship with them, to love them. I just was going back and forth with a friend who, politically thinks very differently than I do. But last night I said, one thing I'm so grateful for as I watch this election unfold is the thought that if my principles lose, there are people like you who I love on the other side, and that shapes how I proceed in dealing with loss or victory. And so, you've been so powerful in communicating this point, Ron, about the challenge of trying to work across the polarized opposites and to aim at places of common flourishing. And I think that's the big moment for us to aim small in terms of having relationships that help us to have an orbital perspective. It doesn't just happen. It happens in part by being in community and by being in community with people who think differently than we do, and then learning to love them so that you can, find common ground and be a respecter of persons, even when ideas conflict. I think that's the biggest moment that we're in. It's a call for basic civility, and it comes one person, one relationship at a time.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And families are being pulled apart, because families within the family unit are on opposite sides of the spectrum. And so this is, a lot of folks will say, well, yeah, that's just nice. That's just a bunch of kumbaya. Don't you see what demons the other side is? Don't you see how they're, and pick whatever name you want to call them. But part of the problem is that there are polar opposite views, or at least I should say seemingly polar opposite views on either side. And so intelligent, well-meaning, good-hearted people on both ends of the political spectrum can see the other side and demonize the other side because of the polarization. And what our echo chamber media and social media and everything else and all our posts, what that serves to do is to put a microscopic focus on those things that we blow out of proportion, to put undue importance on those things and make, for lack of a better word, a mountain out of a molehill. However, so when we talk about unity, when we talk about coming together, when we talk about omni wins and trying to create all that, once you get out to the ends of the spectrum on either side, antibodies get deployed. How dare you? How dare you? That's the enemy.
Yeah.
Don't you see what they're doing? That's illegal. That's immoral. That's, choose whatever thing you want to pick. That's what we need to rise up against right now. That's the challenge that we need to overcome. Yes, there are things that we can disagree with. Yes, there are things that we need to work with every being of with every fiber of our being to change. We need to stand up for what we believe is right. But we knew that we need to do that in a way that it's going to move us towards progress. And the only way we're going to succeed is if we figure out how to lead us towards a more unified understanding of what's going on, not a more divisive understanding.
Yeah, as you know, Ron, I've been involved in the film industry, and I remember the first time that I heard you speak at the United Nations, and you used the example of the dolly zoom. You need to re-explain that to everybody listening again, because you can't hear it enough. It's one of those moments where we need so much to be in the process of zooming in on individual people who we can value and seek to help flourish, while at the same time we're snapping back to that larger perspective that's moving around us as well. That can you explain like the dolly zoom, because you do.
I mean, from a
today
yeah.
is when we need the dolly zoom.
Yeah. In the movie business, what it is you're either zooming the lens in while you're dollying the camera back, or vice versa, right? And it's been used in lots of movies, Jaws, Spy Games, a whole bunch of movies. And what it does is it challenges the viewer's perspective of reality, right? The foreground stays in the same spot and the background seems to stretch. It seems to give depth and height to the situation. If we dolly zoom a situation, or we dolly zoom a challenge, what that means is that we zoom out to the widest geographic view possible, which is all the way out to the whole planet. But we do that without losing focus on the individual people, communities, and issues that make up that situation, right? We also zoom out to the long term, and we think about, okay, what is the effect of this decision or policy or whatever going to be multi-generational? But what's it going to be in the next quarter as well? What's it going to be in the next election cycle? What's it going to be in the next shareholder report? We don't forget those two things. We don't get overly focused on the long term and forget the short term, and we don't just completely put our focus on the short term. The last thing is, and this is not really part of the cinematography of a dolly zoom, but what an added aspect of that came to me on a spacewalk, where I was looking down at the Earth and I realized that my view of the Earth was changing by 5 miles every second. And so when you see the Earth, or when you see anything from multiple points of view, if you see it from 2 points of view, you get it in stereoscopic vision. If you're seeing it from multiple points of view, you're seeing the depth of the situation. And this is where our unity comes in, because the fact that we have diverse opinions, diverse points of view, diverse perspectives is a source of strength. It's a source of strength in problem solving and bringing different problem solving perspectives to the equation. If we allow it, if we don't incorporate those things, then that's where we run into trouble. That's where we all stay in our narrow monoscopic view or perspective, and not consider the other points of view.